What is good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode brought to you by the League FFB. We're back today with a Dynasty trade review show. Hopefully you guys didn't miss us too much last week. We took the week off for Thanksgiving, but we're back again with some Dynasty trades submitted by you guys here in our free Discord. So if you're not a member of that Discord, I strongly suggest you go join that so you can submit your trades for the next episode. We're going to try and do this all year round, 24/7, 365, except for maybe a few holiday weekends like last weekend. But it would not be an episode of Let's Talk Dynasty. It would not be an episode of the Dynasty Trade Review Show without my co-host MFGDs. So let's get him into the building and let's start talking some Dynasty trades. Or how we doing, man?
We doing good, man. Glad to be back. Ready to get some fantasy trades kicked off. I've been jonesing, man.
Yeah, man, it felt weird. I felt like last weekend was like the longest weekend of all time. It felt like there was endless days, and I'm like, I just don't know what to do with my life. Maybe it's because I spend so much of my time, this part of the year just recording content that when I had 2 or 3 days where I didn't have to do it, I'm like, I don't know what to do with my free time anymore.
Yeah, I know. It was weird. Like you wake up last Saturday, like, oh man, I gotta record. Didn't realize, we got the week off.
Yeah, we don't have to record, and we've already had 4 games of football by this point in the weekend already. So, look, man, we got 10 trades loaded up. I'm just going to get right into it. The first trade that I do have pulled up here on the screen is going to be a 12-team Superflex half PPR, a half point per first down, and start 10. Now, team 1 is a contending roster. So what they're doing is they're trading away Trey Benson, a little bit of a younger running back, and a 2026 first-round pick. I'm assuming this first-round pick is late because they are contending, and they get Javonte Williams, your son, and Stefon Diggs here for the New England Patriots. So as a contending roster in a 12-team league and that half point per first down with guys like Javonte who can get a couple of chunk first downs throughout a game, you like this type of deal if you're a contending roster?
If you're a contending roster, it's fine. Do not like the idea of giving up first for Diggs and Williams, and giving away Benson. But I think something that we've been saying week to week lately is, you know what? If you're contending, go for it. You got to do what you got to do. I mean, obviously, I'm sure that, if you could have gotten this package for less than a first, then, you would have. But if this is what you had to do, if you feel like you're that close to winning the championship, then just go for it, man. Stefon Diggs he's having a better season than what I thought, but a lot of people did think Stefon Diggs was going to just have like this super duper like monster season just based on opportunity alone. But he's having a good season. Being a number one. So I did think he would have a decent season, but I do know one of our friends in particular thought that he was going to have like this monster season.
I think he's the anomaly.
Yeah, it's fine. But what I did not see coming is Javonte Williams' season. Even though he is my son, I told Andrew before the season he's my son, but I've kicked him out. I told him to go get a job and get his own place. And he did
for
just
the better.
That.
He grew as a man, for the better.
Yeah, he is. Now he's trying to invite me over for Thanksgiving dinner. So, I mean, he's having a good season. Trey Benson. I think we said in episodes before. I don't know. I don't know if he's the running back of the future there. But it's the Cardinals. They have a weird. They're pretty loyal to their running backs. So we'll see.
Yeah, he's a weird one, I think, because just Arizona in general, I think, is going to be tough to gauge going into the offseason. What happens with Kyler Murray? Do they decide to try and, fix that relationship and decide, walk it back and be like, hey, it's going to be really hard to move off of Kyler Murray with the contract that he has. Do we need to fix this relationship and work it out? Or do they just rip the Band-Aid off and say, we're going with someone else and we're going to try and figure this out and move you? And then if that happens, then what happens to guys like James Conner, who have been there for a long time? What happens to guys like Trey Benson, who, we said could be the next guy, but do they think he's good enough to be the next guy? Or do they go get another guy? Like, there's going to be so many things that happen with this offense. And I really feel like the only thing in Arizona that I can tell you confidently next year, same old back to business, is probably Trey McBride. Like, he's the only thing that I can tell you is going to be consistent next year with what we've seen over the last couple. So for me, I'm intrigued by Benson. I think there's a lot of risk. He's a volatile asset, and I think that's what happens with all these young, unproven running backs. And I think Benson is still a young, unproven running back. You get a late first. I think getting Javonte right now while you're contending and trying to move to go get a championship, it makes sense. I think he's going to be the highest scoring asset in this deal. He's probably going to be worth that late 26 first when it's all said and done, especially if you go out and win that championship, especially in a 12-team league. Diggs is the interesting piece. I think you're right. You know, he's been good, not great. I just checked to see where he's at from points per game standpoint, because keep in mind, even if you see his total numbers right now, he has not had a bye week yet. So week 14 is the bye. They're on bye this week. The total points numbers are a little bit manipulated, but from a fantasy points per game perspective, wide receiver 36. So, you know, low end wide receiver 3 so far this year. Good, not great. Kind of puts him right in the bucket of guys like Alec Pierce, Troy Franklin, you know, Jacoby Myers. That's kind of the group of guys, players you can play, but not anybody you're like super supremely confident in on a week by week basis. So he's a player that I think is interesting. I almost would have felt like I would try and do this deal without Diggs in it, because I feel like he's the player that I'm the most confident in losing his value quickly down the road. Like a year from now, I don't know if we're really super excited about Stefon Diggs. Javonte Williams, I think he's going to get extended by Dallas. I think they'll end up giving him some more money, and he'll probably be their starter next year. Everything else, man, I don't know. Like, I wonder if you could have got this done. Could you have done Benson and a second for Javonte and just kept the first? Is that something you could have done and told them to keep Diggs? Or could you have just done Javonte for the late first and you keep Benson, you know, as a late season asset, potentially to use him too, because he could be coming back from IR here somewhat soon. His situation's messy. I say that because they have one more week to activate him to the 53-man, because his window opened 2 weeks ago. They have one more week to activate him. If he doesn't get activated, he's going to be stuck on IR for the rest of the season. So they need to make sure that he gets activated next week. If he doesn't, that's it for 2025. So I get it. But overall, a good deal. You're contending. This is going to push you into the right direction of winning in 2025. So I have no issues with that. I think this is a fine deal.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you look at Trey Benson, I mean, the guy around the other side is what you're hoping you get, like a guy that got drafted and, you know, thought he was going to, you know, do this, that, and he just explodes. I think what a lot of people remember, well, I'm not going to say a lot of people because, you know, I'm old, so I got to point out, Derrick Henry. I remember Derrick Henry just couldn't get on the damn field.
Yeah.
And then, like, just imagine being that. And at this time, there wasn't a lot of like dynasty leagues going on around this time. So Derrick Henry couldn't get on the damn field. Imagine if dynasty was around then and you're like, I'm getting Derrick Henry off of this damn team. And then next thing you know, freaking Derrick Henry becomes Derrick Henry. I forgot who he had in front of him. Freaking
It was Deion Lewis.
Deion Lewis. Like, I was like, what the hell? Like,
and you want to know who is the annoying ass head coach in front of him? It was Mike fucking Vrabel. And Vrabel's now playing Ramondre Stevenson over Travion Henderson. It's history repeats itself, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Not saying that Henderson's gonna be Henry, but you know what I mean, a talented running back. Anyways, let's move on to the next trade here. 12 teams, super flex, PPR, tight end premium, and start 11. Now, Onion Knights is the guy who submitted this trade. He's trading away Patrick Mahomes, Rashad White, and a 6th round 2026 second round pick, not a 6th round pick, folks. It's a 2026 second round pick for Puka Nacua. Now, the reason why he did this is he said his quarterbacks are still going to be Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. He had Josh Allen, Lamar, and Mahomes on the same fantasy team. So he said, I don't need 3 of these guys. Let me send Mahomes away and I'll just add Puka to the team. How do you feel about that?
Man, hell, from his perspective, I love it. I mean, honestly, without the context, I still would probably do it. Even if I had like quarterbacks that were like a little lesser than Lamar and Allen, like Puka Nacua, it's like a damn cheat code. Like, he's like a cheat code. So add him to the team. And this is not like a shade on Mahomes. Like, you know, you definitely don't wake up in the morning like, oh, let me trade Patrick Mahomes. You definitely don't do that. But but I mean, you sending me back Puka Nacua. Like, I wish I could get Puka Nacua in one of the leagues I'm in. But I'm definitely doing that, especially with the context. The context kind of is just a cherry on top. But I would consider doing this deal even if Allen and Lamar weren't in it.
It's insane to think about. You're in a 12-man league, a super flex league, and you have Allen, Lamar, and Mahomes. I don't know how you made that happen. I don't know what, maybe in the offseason when we were telling you to buy Patrick Mahomes because his value was dirt cheap and everybody hated him, maybe you did that, and then Patrick Mahomes comes out and has a good bounce back year, kind of like we called. I'm just going to say it, but, we've called bad things as well. That's just the game of it, but we were right on the buy Patrick Mahomes thing. And now, right now, we're looking at him on the season, and he's one of the best fantasy quarterbacks in the game right now. So I think this is definitely a player where people are feeling like, hey, he had a down year or 2 down years there for a while. Now he's having a good year. Is this the opportunity to sell Mahomes back at that high-end value? And I understand people's thoughts of doing that. I don't know if that's something that I would do because I still think about Patrick Mahomes, and I would feel confident that he's going to be able to do this or somewhat similar, at least quarterback 1 production, for as long as he kind of wants to. I mean, I don't really feel like the fall off for Mahomes is going to be anytime soon. So he's a player I still feel safe about. If people are wanting to sell high, I don't know if I would really do it. But given the context of this team, Allen and Lamar going to get Nacua, I'm all for that. You don't need to have a third quarterback here. I almost wonder if, and it may be hard with the way the market is right now and the way that Lamar has been playing over the last month, but I almost feel like I would have preferred to sell Lamar first. Are you in the same bucket there? Like in a Dynasty league, are you going with Lamar or are you going with Mahomes moving forward?
I might be a little jaded at this point in time, but I'm leaning that.
It's close. It's
In
close to
that
home.
direction.
You have Lamar in our home league, so it's close to home.
Yeah, but I'm leaning that way, man. Like I concede that I think he's hurt, but come on, damn, man.
You can't throw a touchdown in a month. What are we doing? But no, I think that's where I'm at. This is a good trade. I mean, given the context, you're doing exactly what you need to do. So I don't think we need to dive into that too much further. There's definitely going to be more Mahomes conversations here throughout the episode. There's a theme of today's episode. It's about Justin Jefferson, Odunze, and Patrick Mahomes. So plenty of conversations happening. Speaking of the other two, you do have this trade right here that is a 12-team super flex full PPR, a +2 tight end premium. I don't know if that's an extra 1 point on top of the full PPR. They said +2. I'm assuming it's 1 extra point on top of the full PPR because +2 is ridiculous. But contending team with the most points for is what this roster has from a context perspective. So the contending team is selling Odunze, a 28 first, and Cooper Kupp. They're going to be buying Justin Jefferson and a 2028 fourth round pick. So I got to ask you, this is obviously going to be a trade here where we both have probably more insight on the players than I think most people because of these being close to home for us from a fan perspective. But when we think about the dynasty analysis, the market analysis, how you should be treating these guys, not as fans, but as dynasty fantasy football players, how do you feel about Odunze and the first for a guy like Jefferson?
Okay, I'm not even going to get into the nuts and bolts of the player itself. That would be Odunze. I could just tell you straight up on the surface. I would have been, if I was in this league, I would have been begging Andrew to veto and overturn this trade. I'm sorry.
Really?
Yeah. The only thing that I could think of for sleeper team 2, like agreeing to this deal, is if he's a Bears fan, a like rose-colored glasses Bears fan, like, because I'm sorry, Rome, like, just okay. Obviously, I'm looking at Cooper Kupp, and that fourth is nothing. So let me put that out there. I'm looking at both of those assets as nothing.
Is
now
Cooper Kupp a completely dead asset to you in Dynasty? Like, you don't want him. He's just a roster clogger now?
He's less than Tyler Lockett at this point, which...
Wow. I mean,
yeah.
To me, he's a dead asset. He's a roster clogger. I don't think there's really any value left with him.
Yeah, me either. But just looking like apples for apples, Rome has a long way to go. I don't know who people think Justin Jefferson is, or they got him messed up, man. They got Justin Jefferson messed up. Rome aspires to be an asset of Justin Jefferson. And then the first is from 2028. So it's just like, that's a lot of completely devalued first, but it's kind of just like a big ass question mark. Yeah, man. Like, without me getting into what I think about Rome himself, like, I could tell you right now in the server, this is like a bad trade. Kudos to Team 1 for getting Justin Jefferson for this package, which basically is Justin Jefferson for Rome in the first and 2028 first at that. I lean heavy on the Justin Jefferson side.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Jefferson side too, especially given the context. You're the contending team with the most points for, and given the added context of what we know as of recent, recently. I understand that this trade could have been made before the added context of Rome being hurt and potentially missing the rest of the season. So, being a contending team with the most points for makes sense getting Justin Jefferson. He's still the player that I feel the most confident in this trade. I think he's an interesting player, and I'm going to say this again, separating, because I think sometimes people get confused because we do wear the team colors on our sleeves so heavily sometimes. I think people get confused with our fandom thoughts at times and the dynasty analysis sometimes. And so I say that to say Justin Jefferson for me as a dynasty fantasy football player is starting to become a very interesting topic of conversation, and this is why specifically. I think of where he's at from the top guys over in like the wide receiver rooms, right? Like you think of the Jamar Chases, the Pukas, the JSNs, all of these other guys that are going to be at the very top of the list. Justin Jefferson is the oldest of all of those guys on the list. Now, he's not old. He's only 27, but he's the oldest of the guys on the list at the top. So you think of like which guys are going to start seeing their value decrease because of age first, it's going to be Justin Jefferson. As he gets to 28, 29, you're going to see that value come down a little bit just because that's what typically happens when guys get older in fantasy. That doesn't mean the production's going to dip, but then you add in the quarterback uncertainty in Minnesota where people are not confident in JJ McCarthy. The play for Justin Jefferson hasn't been elite this year. Keep in mind, not elite for Justin Jefferson is still a mid to high end wide receiver 2 each and every week, but that has been the worst we have seen from Justin Jefferson basically since his rookie season. I was looking back on Keep Trade Cut the other day just to see kind of the value of Justin Jefferson. Did you know that right now it is the lowest value that Justin Jefferson has been valued at on that website since September of 2021? It is the lowest value since September 2021 for Justin Jefferson right now. And it makes me think we should be buying Jefferson in the right situations. But my question for you, War, is, and maybe the question for the viewer to think and ponder about as well, is I say we should be buying Justin Jefferson in the right situations, but is Justin Jefferson's age, Justin Jefferson's situation, is it making Justin Jefferson more of a player now that we're not looking to buy on young rebuilding teams? Is he a player that is kind of out of that young rebuilding team territory?
No, he's in his prime. He's in his prime. Like, people get older confused with old. Like, there's two different things. Like, he's older than JSN and guys like that, but he's not old. We're not talking about getting like Devontae Adams here. Like, this guy's in his prime. And even when he hits Devontae Adams' age, look at Devontae Adams. Once he hits that age, he's still gonna be like producing. So I wouldn't be scared to add him to a young rebuilding roster. I would use him as one of the anchors of a young rebuilding roster.
Okay, so I do somewhat agree. I think I'm a little bit more dynasty theory gamesmanship than you are right now with the age factor of it. I'm pulling up Keep Trade Cut right now because I want to give you his actual ranking today based on where he's at, and then I'm gonna make you give me a prediction here. And we'll see where that lands. But I'm looking at the wide receivers right now. Justin Jefferson is currently the wide receiver 7 on Keep Trade Cut. There is JSN ahead of him, Jamar Chase, Puka, Neighbors, Lamb, and Amon-Ra, all above Justin Jefferson. If you had to guess, this time next year, is Justin Jefferson higher than wide receiver 7 or lower than wide receiver 7 this time next year?
I think he's higher.
So who does he jump?
Well, for starters, honestly, I don't know how to play out on Keep Trade Cut, but he should be above Lamb and Amon-Ra.
Is that just based off of the talent, or is that based off of the production right now? Because the production for Lamb and Amon-Ra has been better.
So I think that there will be a lot of dynasty players that especially win the Cowboy. I know like that George Pickens did his little thing the most recent game, but I do think that if he signs a long-term contract with Dallas, I do think people will start to like fade Lamb a little bit.
I could see
Amon-Ra has generally been known as to be beneath Justin Jefferson historically. And I don't see the Vikings sitting back on their hands this offseason and just not making sure that they're going to put the best quarterback on the field. Now that could still be see JJ McCarthy. Like they could see something like people are, dumping all the assets off of the ship right now. He could end the season on a hot streak and then the rest will be history. Like who knows? But one thing I do know is that the Vikings will put the best quarterback talent possible to help their team on the field next season. And I think a lot of why Justin Jefferson's stock is fading is because they're looking at it like, oh man, the Vikings got this kid. This kid isn't good. They're going to be stuck with this kid. Like, who's going to be their quarterback? If there's one team in the NFL that I'm confident could quickly fix their quarterback situation and find at least even like a placeholder to help their team compete at the quarterback position, is the Vikings. So I'm not worried about Justin Jefferson's long-term rankings either. And when I put all those chips on the table, I can only name like 4 of those guys and I'm for sure taking over him. JSN, Jamar Chase, Puka Nacua, Malik Neighbors when healthy. Him and CeeDee Lamb are comparable. To me, I'm not even comfortable saying that they're all in the same tier, because for the longest, the tier has been Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson. That's been the S tier, tier 1. And to drop him from S tier, tier 1 to damn near, what are we talking, like tier A? Like low end tier A? That's insane to me. That's insane to me. Like, he didn't do anything for him to be dropped that low. His quarterback play hasn't been up to par. He's still Justin Jefferson. So, like, yeah, man, I don't know, man. I'm not about to put all these dudes at him just because.
Yeah, I think that's probably the way that I would go about it as well. Is I'm not panicked over Justin Jefferson. Maybe that's the best way to say it right now. Is I'm not panicking over Justin Jefferson. Where I have him in leagues, I'm not selling. If the right offer comes around in the offseason, sure, I'll look at it. But he's not a player that I'm just like trying to dump off the roster right now to try and figure this out later. Like, I'm not moving Jefferson for Roman a first. That's not what I'm doing. So, I just think that's kind of where I'm at with Jefferson. There's certainly a lot to talk about with Rome Odunze too. We can, move on to the next trade because I know there's another Rome Odunze one loaded up later, so we can have our Rome conversation when the next one comes up. But yeah, overall, I'm going to take the Jefferson side, especially given the context of you contending with the most points for trying to win a championship right now, and Rome Odunze maybe not playing the rest of the season. So we'll go to this next trade. It is a 12-team Superflex, half PPR, no tight end premium, and start 9. Team number 1 is retooling, and they already have Rashee Rice on the roster. So what they wanted to do was trade George Kittle, Dak Prescott, and a 3rd-round pick for Patrick Mahomes. So Dak having an incredible year right now. I think a lot of people kind of felt like Dak was in a great situation. I know we had a video beginning of the season where I told you this felt like it was going to be 2025's version of the Cincinnati Bengals offense in 2024. And Dallas has so far kind of lived up to that expectation. Dak Prescott has been playing incredible. Obviously, we've had CD that we just talked about, Pickens that we talked about, Ferguson's been involved, Javonte's been involved. All of these guys have been high scores for us in fantasy. Kittle, not so much. Kittle hasn't had the best year. A lot of it has been injury. Obviously, the Niners have also been banged up with injuries to Purdy and Ayuk and Pearsall and everybody else under the sun in San Francisco. There's something in the water in San Francisco that just keeps everybody, injured, except for CMC, who has not been injured this year for the first time, it feels like, in forever. So, Kittle, it's weird, right? Like, what kind of dark magic are you doing over there, Christian, to keep you healthy and all these other guys injured? Are you taking, are you sucking the life out of these guys when it comes to fantasy and injury, production, whatever. But at the end of the day, man, I'm looking at this trade with Patrick Mahomes for Prescott and Kittle. Grow up, bro. What are we doing here? Grow the fuck up. What are we doing? So we got Patrick Mahomes for Prescott and Kittle. What do you think, dude? Given that he's a retooling team with Rice.
Honestly, man, I think this is a fair deal, man. Well, I'm starting, and I'm going to invoke his name twice. I'm going to apply the Derrick Henry rule to Dak Prescott, because like every season, people go into the season like, oh man, yeah, he's Dak. He's going to suck. He's not going to do anything for my fantasy team. Here Dak is just putting up numbers. A lot of the reason I think this fair is because I think George Kittle's going to round into form. He's going to round into that top 3 tight end form. The more I talk, though, the more I'm just like, going forward, I kind of would prefer to have Patrick. I'm not going to lie. He said he's retooling with Rice. I want even more context from his team. I want to know who's his other tight ends, who's his other quarterback. Did he give us the context? Who's his other quarterback? superstar?
I don't know if I
There's
have
no
all of
tight end
that,
premium.
but it
There's
is
no
not a
tight
tight
end
end
premium.
premium. I
Yeah,
think that's a big piece of context
yeah,
to add to this.
that is a big piece of context. So now thinking about that, I do slightly lean on Mahomes side. Now it's less even than what I thought it was. I do want to give flowers to Dak Prescott. I do think that we need to stop fading him, stop treating him like yesterday's garbage and every deal. Dak Prescott solidifies. I still don't know if I'm comfortable with him as my QB1. If the rest of my team is stacked and he's my QB1, I'm comfortable with it, but
Well, here's the
he's
thing:
the
is
consummate QB2.
you never have to pay QB1 prices to get Dak. Like, so you can
Yeah.
always add him as your QB2 because nobody values him as a QB1. And I will say this: I'm going to go on record and say it as well. You kind of just did it. Dak Prescott has been one of the most underappreciated, undervalued, hated dynasty and real life quarterback assets for years. And I don't know if it's because there's a star on the helmet, and typically with that there comes a lot of hate because it's easy to hate the Cowboys, right? Like, especially when you're QB1 of the Cowboys. I think there's a lot of stuff that can come with that. I just think Dak has been so underappreciated, and you're right. He deserves his flowers. I think people are finally giving him a little bit more of his flowers, and we've been giving him some flowers for a couple of years now. The problem has never been Dak play. It has been Dak having these years where he's healthy and these years where he's not healthy. And this year he's healthy, and you're seeing what happens when Dak is healthy, especially in your fantasy formats. So that being said, it's an interesting thought process because Dak and Mahomes are not that different in age. They're actually pretty close in age. And Kittle's an older guy. It's a non-tight end premium. But for some reason, as much flowers and props that we want to give Dak Prescott, it still feels like the safety is in Patrick Mahomes. There's something about Mahomes, and obviously he's playing as QB1. Dak is still, up there with those guys. We just talked about it off stream just a second ago, where Dak is actually number one right now in total points, but he played the Thursday night football game, so he technically has one more game under the belt than Mahomes and Allen do. But we're talking about the top scorers right now. Mahomes has more points up to this point than Josh Allen. In our league, it's a 6-point passing touchdown league. In 4-point passing, I almost am certain it's going to be Josh Allen. But at the end of the day, we're talking about the top scorers. Mahomes feels safer. I don't think Kansas City is going to look at Mahomes as long as he is choosing to play football and say, we need another quarterback. Yeah. I'm not confident batshit Jerry is going to say, Dak's my quarterback forever. Dak, I feel like Jerry could wake up one day and say, let's make a trade for somebody at the quarterback position. Let's do something crazy. And he ends up doing something. So I can't say that Dak has the same type of safety as Mahomes, but damn, the production's right there. If you have Rice, that's going to be my deal breaker, my tiebreaker here, where you're securing a stack. Sure, I'm for it. This, though, I'm going to say this is a fair trade. I don't think one side is winning, a lot stronger than the other. But with the guy getting, the Mahomes and Rice stack, I see it. I like it.
So you can kind of lean. You can lean either way on this one.
You can talk me into either one. I mean, if you're a contending team today and you're like, I need tight end help to help me push for the championship this year, Dak and Kittle can be the better side of the deal for that.
Here's the thing about Mahomes that's scary. Mahomes in a league full of great quarterbacks. You got Lamar, you got Josh, you got all these guys. Mahomes is playing for like one of the greatest athletes of all time. Like, it's a different stratosphere of player. Like Mahomes, we compare him to Jordan, Brady, LeBron. So it's like with Mahomes, even when you're saying GOAT status, even when you see like a regular season from Patrick Mahomes, it's almost like you have to take it to account because of his greatness. He'll add another wrinkle going forward. And then next thing you know, Tom Brady did it like multiple times where it's just like, okay, Tom Brady, he's starting to look pedestrian. The next thing you know, he adds a new wrinkle to his game. And now he's like back
another
amongst
Super Bowl.
Yeah, back amongst. So you got to factor all that stuff in with Mahomes. So like, even if this trade is equal, like you said, the tiebreaker was the Rice and stuff like that.
Yep.
I think another tiebreaker is just like relying on greatness. Like you said, the comfort of having a Patrick Mahomes. So
yeah, that's always been something we have baked into the price here, and it is what it is, man. I don't know. You can't tangibly tell people what it is, but there's something with Mahomes that just makes him a little bit more valuable. You give him the edge. Let's go over to this trade here. Rome. This might be the one for the Rome Odunze conversation. You got a 12-team Superflex full PPR and start 13. Lots of starters here, but this is a retooling team who said they're kind of middle of the pack, and they figured they'll just play for the future right now. So they're trading off guys like Breece Hall, short window guy, Alvin Kamara, an older running back, and Jaylen Knoll. We don't know what he is at this point. They're going to get Rome Odunze, who they feel like is the most solidified asset long term. And you get Zach Charbonnet, who I think is interesting because Kenneth Walker's a free agent this offseason. If Kenneth Walker hits the open market, goes out, gets a contract by somebody else, is Zach Charbonnet sneaky running back one in Seattle, at least for next year in 2026? I think that's the interesting part here. But, you are a lot less bullish in my personal conversations with you on Rome right now than you have been in, I would say, weeks past. What about Rome Odunze right now is giving you this pause? And I guess tell me, about those feelings, I guess more from a Bears fan standpoint, but then give me the analysis of what those should be used to apply for Dynasty Fantasy Football, like how you should be applying those feelings for Dynasty.
Well, first thing I'll say regarding this trade, just like the Justin Jefferson trade, how I was, oh man, I'm slamming the button on the Rome Odunze side in this trade. Like Kamara, love him, Hall of Famer. He single-handedly won me a championship before, but it's over. Noel, we don't know. Hall, I'm sure he'll be productive elsewhere next season. Like you said, Charbonnet could even be equal to that asset going forward in the future. But this is about Rome Odunze. Here's the thing. Why have I been less bullish on Rome? It's because I've seen Rome run routes and drop too many passes. Now, this is before we found out he had a stress fracture in his foot. I think the stress fracture played a huge role in why he's going from one of the brightest wide receiver stars drafted at the top of the draft to just looking like a guy who could only be trusted in flex consideration. I do think that's the reason for that. But without that injury context, I do think there are some concerns about Rome in regards to him dropping the ball, him kind of having the yips, I would say. I don't know what that's about. I like his temperament. He's a great team guy. So I do hope he turns that around. And another looming threat, and it could get kind of crazy here in the closing weeks, it's Luther Burden. And I'm sorry, when it comes to the eye test, and I'm talking about the NFL eye test, not what Rome did in college versus what Luther Burden did in college. I'm talking about things I have seen on the football field in the NFL. Luther Burden seems to just be a lot more of a confident player once the ball gets into his hands. When Luther Burden gets the ball into his hands, I feel like even if there's two defenders in front of him, he can house that shit. That's and I told Andrew before at the beginning of the season, maybe even the off season, and I can't remember if I told Andrew on one of our videos or if I told him off camera. I told him that I told him there's a chance that Luther Burden could be better than Rome Odunze. Remember I told you that? And that Luther just passes the eye test more than Rome to me. And if that ends up coming to fruition, I don't think that's going to mean, oh yeah, Rome is going to be off of the Bears. I do think I think it's already over for DJ Moore as a Chicago Bear.
That's what I was going to ask, because I think that's the third part of the equation that needed to be brought in, thinking long-term future for Dynasty. Like, who are the two for the Bears?
Rome and Luther Burden. And Luther Burden, this injury that Rome has, that, like you said, it might be season-ending, but they're calling it week to week. He could just miss this week, be back next week. We don't know. But I do think Luther Burden's going to slam the door shut on the idea that DJ Moore needs to be on this team next season. Because I think Luther Burden's that good. And that's without considering, too, that they have two tight ends that can play, that could produce. One in particular can stretch the field. So that's just where I'm at. As far as Rome, I do think he has a bright future. I do think he can figure out the drop passes. But I do want people to be aware that there is a possibility that Luther Burden could surpass him. And I also think this is a prime opportunity as well from a dynasty perspective that Rome Odunze is probably going to become a great buy low candidate. Like he's being bought low here because between the season he's had so far, the injury, and the emergence of Luther Burden, his value is going to continue to plummet. And I'm telling you now, you should take advantage of it.
Yeah, I agree with with a lot of those statements, honestly. And when I look at Rome Odunze, I agree too. He's a player that I think right now I'm trying to at least test the market and see like where are people at with Rome Odunze? Because if the price is low and people are starting to really worry about Rome, especially, now that we start baking in some of these things of injury dip plus bad play, plus, you add the additional context of maybe Luther Burden looks really good in the back half of the season. If all of those things add together to where we're getting Rome Odunze cheaply, I am all for taking a shot on a buy in Dynasty for a super talented player that I believe is still talented, Rome Odunze for the Chicago Bears. So I definitely like this as a potential opening, trying to look at this as glass half full rather than glass half empty. You look for opportunities and windows in Dynasty to get better as a Dynasty team all around. You're trying to accumulate value. You're trying to get that stack year in and year out. How can I keep improving my roster over and over and over again to where I finally have accumulated enough value and the stars align and I can win a championship? You have to find these opportunities to buy supremely talented players at affordable prices. And I think that window is opening for Rome Odunze. So he's a player I'm definitely still interested in going out and testing the market and seeing to buy. I think the same thing can be said for Charbonnet. I mentioned that, Walker hitting free agency in the offseason. Could that open a door for Charbonnet? That's a other speculative buy, and I like both of those here in this trade. Rome Odunze, when I was looking at Justin Jefferson on Keep Trade Cut in the last trade where we were talking about his value, Rome's wide receiver 16 right now. That feels fairly appropriate for how I would value him. I think there's still room for a little bit of improvement, but I don't know if wide receiver 16 is going to be the floor. I think he can, by the time the season is over, hit wide receiver 20, 21, and see his value kind of fall a little bit more. So he's a player I'm interested in buying. I still like the buy on Breece Hall. You said, you think that next year he's producing for somebody else. I hope so. I hope he's producing for somebody else. If he stays in New York, all that bullshit on Twitter, all that yapping about you want to be somewhere else and please trade me and blah, 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 and you sign an extension to stay in New York, you might be dumber than I thought you were, Breece, but hopefully you go somewhere else and go be a producer, because another supremely talented running back just in a bad situation. But overall, I'm looking at this trade. You're retooling a middle tier team. It's a 12-team league. You're looking for, youth and high upside. I like it with Rome Odunze. I like it. I think this is a good deal for you. I'm going to take that side of the deal. And I'm just going to echo it one more time. I let you kind of have the floor with Rome. I still believe in Rome. I think Rome is a buy. I think the value could get even cheaper in the early offseason. If your dynasty trade deadline has passed by now, wait until those trades open back up right after your championship game or whatever that may be. And I might almost immediately start just, hey, what's the price on Rome, dude? Like, what can I give you? Can I give you a 2026 first? And you'll re-roll Rome Odunze in the offseason. I would rather have Rome Odunze. So I think that's something I would try and test the market on. I know somebody asked me the other day in one of our leagues, they said, would you just re-roll Rome for a late 2027 first? And while we like that 2027 class, I feel like I'm trading young asset for young asset where I still might just roll with Rome right now. So there are definitely people out here thinking of moving off of Rome, re-rolling Rome, trying to get away from Rome. And when that opportunity knocks, be ready to buy, because I like the buy there, just like I like the buy with Justin Jefferson. So let's move on to the next trade. And this is going to go back to a Jefferson conversation because, like I said, he is in a lot of trades here. It is a 12-team super flex half PPR league. You have Zoms, who has a late first there on that side, and then Baba's is an early. So we'll kind of break this down. I give that context, but what that means is you're trading away Justin Jefferson and a late first with Noah Gray for T. Higgins, an early 2026 first, and who knows where the 2028 first is by the time that rolls around. So Jefferson and a late first for Higgins and an early first and a 28 first. I'll value Noah Gray as the $1. Let's just get those guys out of here. I'll value Noah Gray as the $1 fab, and let's just talk about it at that. So look, this is Higgins an early first and a 28 random for Jefferson and a late. How do you feel about this, War?
Well, it's no question, man. I'm still taking the Justin Jefferson side. I'm sorry. Especially with that first.
Is it easier to say like the late 26 first? We know it's late and the 28 could be random because it's 2 years out. Is it easy to just eliminate those two first round picks?
Yeah.
So it's kind of Higgins and an early first for Jefferson.
Yes, which is not bad. which is not bad. You guys already know where I'm at on Justin Jefferson. T. Higgins. T. Higgins is a stud. He's just not of the same ilk as Justin Jefferson. I mean, it's pretty simple there. So I mean, I think the story, we all know that. So I think the story becomes
Let me
about
ask you this.
mhm,
T or Rome? Because you just gave us how you felt about Rome. T or Rome right now?
Rome.
Okay, I would agree. I would still rather have Rome than T. Higgins in Dynasty. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's kind of how you're feeling about Higgins then, is more a wide receiver 2. And are you more on the low end wide receiver 2 range with him in Dynasty?
No, I look at T. Higgins as a wide receiver 2 cheat code, like a wide receiver 2 that could have multiple wide receiver 1 weeks. That's kind of just how I look at. That's how he's always been. Like,
And then there's going to be 5 weeks out of the year where he scores like 6 points.
and 3 weeks where he's hurt or some shit.
Yeah.
So,
But then those other
so
4 weeks, he's going to score 29 because he got into the end zone, and scored 100 yards or something like that.
yeah, that's the T. Higgins experience. A guy that you would love as a wide receiver 2, but as a wide receiver 1, you'll probably be left holding the bag most of the times. And that's not the type of asset that I want to get in return for Justin Jefferson, who I still think, like, pound for pound, is one of the top 2 wide receivers in the league. So put
Yeah.
some
I
respect
mean,
on his name,
I
y'all. Some respect on his name.
described in our group chat Justin Jefferson as a walking gold jacket. That's how I describe Justin Jefferson. He's a walking gold jacket, and I truly believe it. The value compensation here, like you said, it's not bad. Getting an early first, depending on where that lands, like if you're talking 101 territory and you can land Jeremiah Love and T. Higgins for Jefferson, I like it. It's fair value. There's gonna be some gamesmanship to a deal like this, and I think there's gonna be some context where, are you trying to move all of these pieces? And I'll be honest, I don't think there was a second part of Shark Bait's deal here where I think he'd made 2 trades and I didn't include both of them, because I think there was a chain series of trades, and I'm like, this guy's gonna have like 3 or 4 trades on the episode if I just include his whole chain link of trades. So I only included this one, but I think he went later down the road to flip Higgins into, he took a first and he took Higgins, and I think he flipped it and moved it to Neighbors. So there was a secondary move that made this a lot, I think, better down the line. So the value-wise makes sense for me. Moving Higgins and upgrading him into a Neighbors, I think that makes sense as well if you can do that and if that's accurate. So the value-wise, I think this is a fair trade. Still agree, with the Jefferson is undervalued and there's a opening to buy. But I think with you buying draft capital and then you flipping Higgins into a guy like Neighbors, and the more that I talk about it, I feel like I should have just included that deal into this trade as well.
Yeah.
It tells me you probably are moving into a younger retool rebuild type of direction, and I don't mind that at all in this type of scenario.
Yeah. If we're talking about flipping some of these assets that you got for Justin Jefferson into Malik Neighbors, then that's a whole different story, because now we're talking about the tier right beneath Justin Jefferson, and you're still going to have something left over with it too. So yeah, man, if that was a part of the plan, then kudos to you, sir.
Yeah, and that's the tough part, I think, sometimes about the trade show. And the only one thing that I haven't been able to, it's the one thing about it sometimes is, if obviously the story that you tell in a dynasty league is never just one trade. It's never just one trade. It's always, what moves can you make to position yourself to have better moves down the road, to do, stack things on top of each other. And I said it earlier, how can you stack value year in and year out over time to eventually have the stars align and win a championship? In a trade show, sometimes like this, we're looking at one trade in a bubble. You can lose a trade here and win a trade in the next one and actually come out on top. So, this could be one of those ones where you look at it and you say, this is a tough one to grade, but your secondary move where you go get Neighbors or something like that, that's the one where you actually end up profiting down the line. So, in a bubble, I think this one's a fair deal. Going to get Neighbors, if I'm remembering correctly, and that is what you went and did, love that for you. Still think Justin Jefferson is a buy low. I don't need to reemphasize that anymore, but at the end of the day, man, this is closer to the compensation. We talked about that the earlier trade where, what was it? It was Rome and, what was it? It was Rome and a first, a 28 first for JJ.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was Roman a 28 first for JJ. This one is Higgins and 2 firsts for JJ. Obviously, you're including your own first. So, similar value here. I'm still going to go. I think the fact that you're moving up from late to early in 2026 and you get the 2028 first, I'm going to lean the Higgins side barely from the value standpoint.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, let's go on to this next trade. I do have this one. I think this is the last Mahomes one, and it is going to be Mahomes. Actually, let me give the context of the league. It's a 12-team Superflex 6-point passing touchdown, full PPR and tight end premium league. You do have this team, team number 1, who felt like they were a pretender, not a contender. So they were more of a middle of the pack team and decided, you know what? Let's sell some of these assets that are performing right now for assets that I would rather have in the future. And so they traded away Patrick Mahomes, Jaylen Waddle, and Chris Olave. And they got Lamar Jackson, a 27 first, a 28 first, and a 27 second. So really, to me, what I'm looking at here is it feels like you're moving laterally on the quarterback. You're going from Mahomes to Lamar. Maybe you feel like you're improving going from Mahomes to Lamar if people are still high on Lamar. I think it's a little bit of a buy low opportunity here. And then you are going to be selling Waddle and Olave for the draft capital. That's what it feels like to me. Do you think it feels similar?
Yeah. Yeah, it does feel like that. It's just, I'm trying not to have recency bias. I'm trying hard not to have recency bias.
You want Mahomes, Waddle, and Olave? That's where your heart is going?
Yeah, and it's being tugged by that 27 first.
I
That's what
gotcha.
it's for. The tug of war is not at Lamar. Because I could easily justify not only Lamar and Patrick being a lateral move, I could probably at this point justify Patrick being a little bit higher than Lamar. I could justify that. But that 27 first. I mean, we were really high on Waddle like a couple weeks ago. Are we still high on Jaylen Waddle?
I still like the rest of the season for him. Still think he has an opportunity to finish very strong. And I still think the long-term outlook for him looks fine. I truly don't think Tyreek Hill will be playing another game in a Dolphins uniform. I don't believe that'll happen. So I'm still high on Waddle. I still like Chris Olave. I don't feel like I've ever really wavered on Olave, but I think a lot of people...
rehabilitated himself in my eyes. He has rehabilitated himself.
A lot of people have come around on Chris Olave as of late. And then Mahomes, like I think the Mahomes, the Waddle, and the Olave side obviously is the side that you look at and you say, these players are going to help me win right now. And a lot of those players you feel like can still help you win in the future. Olave's not old. Waddle's not old. Mahomes isn't, a player that we're super worried about long term. So it feels good getting that side of the deal. I also understand getting Lamar in 2 firsts and a second round pick in 2027 as well. So I think it's an interesting scenario. The only thing that I would say is if you feel like you're pretending, why do you make the move for Lamar in the draft capital in week 14, week 13, when the draft pick is already written? You know what I mean? Like, you can't improve your draft pick anymore. Like, at this point, it's kind of where it is. You can't really do anything like that in 2026. And I get it. Maybe you thought you were contending and it came until right now where you're like, I can't really do it. This is at times where we talk about fence sitting. Don't get caught in the middle. You thought all year long for 14 weeks or 13 weeks, you were going to be a team that could make the playoffs and go, make a run. Why in the final week of the season do you change your mind and decide to then sell assets? Like, to me, that's a wasted season. You just wasted your season. And I say that because you spend 14, 13, 12 weeks, whatever it was, 13 weeks going to try and make the playoffs, and then you get to the damn playoffs and you say, let me sell my production for draft picks. What the hell? What are you smirking for over there? I mean, what am I wrong?
No, you're not. But I just thought of a genius way to clip what you just said. I'll talk to you about it off camera because I was doing it in my head as you was talking.
Okay, but what was that for? Like, what was that for? You just wasted a year now.
You wasted a damn year, buddy.
And I'm not saying you lost the trade. The value's fine. It is what it is. But when it comes to the fantasy playoffs, anybody in has a chance to win. So if you spent the time trying to get in, you might as well try and win, because it does you no good trying to lose in the playoffs. Who the hell makes the playoffs and then tries to lose once you get in? So,
Uh,
that's my only gripe with this trade is the process, and not that it's not something you can't learn from. In the future, try and make those decisions earlier in the year. Try and analyze your team earlier in the year, because if you would have made this decision in week, I don't know, let's call it 9, you would have had 5 more weeks or 6 more weeks where you could have, one, probably bought Lamar Jackson cheaper because he would have been injured and not on the football field. And then 2, maybe not cheaper, because even when he got on the football field, he looked like shit. But you could have bought an injured Lamar Jackson, and you would have had time to lose some games and improve your draft pick. But now you can't. So that's the only thing. That's my only thing is the strategy here. The compensation is fine. I like it. To be honest, I think I lean the Mahomes, Waddle, and Olave side, only because I think I'm a fan of those players, and I think that those players have good futures still ahead of them. But man, I wish you would have made this decision a little bit earlier, man.
Benson.
It gets everybody at one point or another. People can get in trouble sitting there on the fence, and I think this is one of those ones where, and maybe I'm talking out my ass. Maybe I don't know all of the context for you and your league, but I don't understand deciding that you're a pretender once everybody's clinched playoffs, or once everybody's like, we're right there. Next week is playoffs. Why are we deciding we're pretenders then?
Too late.
Anyways, I don't mean to, I'm not saying anything to be mean. I'm just saying things to hopefully open your eyes as to some of the strategy in which I would be operating. It doesn't mean you have to operate that way. You could say, Andrew, you're an idiot as well. I don't like your takes either. So, you can tell me that in the comments all day long. I promise I'm not going to be offended. But at the end of the day, that's just how I would operate. And I wouldn't have decided this in the final week. So if I would have spent my whole fantasy season trying to get into the playoffs, I'm going to try and fucking win. That's just what I'm going to do. 12 teams, super flex, full PPR. This is a contending team who's going for back-to-back championships. So they won last year. They're trying to win again. What they did was trade a 26 first-round pick, RJ Harvey and Jaylen Waddle, and they got Saquon, AJ Brown, a 27 second, and a 28 third. This is an interesting trade here, War, because I believe, and you tell me if I'm wrong, I believe contending, going for back-to-back ships, I think RJ Harvey has as good of a shot as Saquon Barkley at scoring equal or similar fantasy points the rest of the way. I think Jaylen Waddle has equal or similar opportunities to score the same amount of fantasy points as AJ Brown the rest of the way. And then you gave a first-round pick on top of that. Am I wrong for saying there is an argument that Waddle and Harvey can outscore Barkley and Brown, and you gave up the youth and the draft pick? Am I wrong in saying that?
No, you're not. This is one of those name value trades. The name value of Saquon, Barkley, and AJ Brown gave the illusion that the production is going to be more because of the name. There is a chance. Now, don't get it twisted. I like AJ Brown's schedule down the stretch. Don't get it twisted. But what you said, what you, Andrew Mott, said, is that there's a chance that Waddle can outscore AJ Brown. There's a chance RJ Harvey can outscore Saquon Barkley. And for the price of a chance, it's not a damn first. That's not the price of a chance. Now, you might be able to save a little face here. If that second round pick you got for 27 is like at the top of the second round, that might be the saving grace in this deal, because I can make the argument that if that second round pick is 201 or 202, player wise, it could be as valuable as a late, not even player wise, it's valuable or more valuable than that late 26 first.
Yeah,
because
that's from a talent perspective of the class. Yes.
Yeah, because that's the level of depth of the 27 draft. So you might be able to save face there. But all I can say is that, and like Andrew said, you gave up the youth, you gave up the draft pick. You better hope that those guys don't have equal value, and you better hope that Barkley and AJ Brown outproduce those guys, or it's going to sting.
And I say that, obviously saying there's a chance. If I had to say, like, who makes me feel the most confident in floor, it's probably AJ and Saquon. They make me feel the safest. But we're talking Dynasty. We're not talking redraft. We're talking about a long-term outlook as well as a try and win aspect of right now. And I think rest of season, if I had to choose between AJ Brown and Jaylen Waddle, AJ's coming off of 2 good games here against Dallas and Chicago. Keep in mind, Dallas is dead last against wide receivers this year. Chicago's like 3rd to last against wide receivers this year. So he's coming off of 2 really good performances against some of the worst defenses in football when it comes to stopping the wide receiver in fantasy. That's something that we need to talk about. The schedule rest of the way is good for Saquon and AJ. When you go to the fantasy playoffs week 15, 16, and 17, you get the Raiders, the Commanders, and the Bills. Should be good for those guys from a schedule standpoint. Waddle has a good schedule as well. Harvey, not so much, but I don't expect J.K. Dobbins to really be involved, if any at all, the rest of the way. I think he's pretty much done for the season. Do you believe Dobbins is going to be back this year?
No.
I don't really either. So I think I would prefer Saquon right now to win over Harvey. AJ and Waddle are closer. You could lean AJ, but is the difference the first round pick? I don't think so. I think I agree with you where the first round pick is kind of where it throws me off, because I think long term, am I more confident in Saquon gaining value moving forward or losing value moving forward? I think I'm more confident in him losing value moving forward. Am I more confident in AJ Brown gaining value or losing value moving forward? I think I'm more confident in him losing value moving forward. He was already a player that it felt like impossible to trade away this offseason, and then he goes out this year and has a mediocre season for the most part and gets a year older. It's going to be even harder to move him this upcoming offseason. So overall, I'll tell you what, I think you saw the chance at back-to-back and you said, I'm willing to do whatever to make it happen, and that got you in trouble. And I've been there. Trust me, I have been there. Trying to get greedy, trying to go find the guys to help me win right now. And it's got me in situations where I look back on it in hindsight a year later and say, why the fuck did I do that? And you don't feel that way if you do win the championship, but if you lose, then you have to live with the consequences of your actions without getting the sweet championship on top. So I hope, Figgy, I hope this is something that helps you win, because if you don't, you may look down on this a year from now and say, why did I give up that 26 first? And why did I give up RJ Harvey? And why did I give up Jaylen Waddle to try and win a championship for these older aging assets that didn't really help me? But who knows? If AJ keeps playing like he's played the last 2 weeks, you could be happy. I think it's a little rich. I think you overpaid a little bit. I get it, but I think you overpaid.
Yep, if it don't work, it's gonna sting.
I get it. I get it. But that championship, we want that so bad. Let's go to this trade, a 10-team Superflex, full PPR, and start 10. This is a contending team, and he says the first-round pick in this deal is late. So you trade Hunter Henry, DeAndre Swift, Brian Thomas Jr., a late 26 first, and a late 26 second for Justin Jefferson and George Kittle. We've talked about Jefferson and Kittle a lot today, it feels like, but we're back with another deal where it feels like the compensation is a player in that tier of Rome and T and Brian Thomas, who, would you agree Thomas is in the same tier as those guys?
No.
Below or higher?
Below.
Okay, all right. So you get Brian and a late first with some fluff of Swift and a second and Henry probably to equal out the Kittle side of this deal. Are you still just leaning Jefferson here, or what are we doing, man?
I'm slamming a button on this trade. None of these assets going for Justin Jefferson. I don't care for any of them. Even the 26 first is kind of just like, okay. Because 26 is kind of like a okay kind of draft.
Yeah.
Brian Thomas, I lost all faith in Brian Thomas. I'm gonna be honest.
Have you?
Yeah, to the point where I feel like he's already at the point where it's like, let's see if a change of scenery will help. I don't think it's going to happen for him in Jacksonville. And the more I sit, like, not just the injuries aside, I think now he's entered a mental place where it's kind of just like there was already mental damage, like when they drafted Travis Hunter. I feel like there was already like, hey, I'm the guy. Remember we talked about this. So I was like, hey, I thought I was the guy. Then they go out and they trade for Jacoby Myers. So that's kind of like, yeah, I know it's like, okay, we're replacing Travis Hunter. But that's also kind of like, yeah, well, we don't think you can do what you did last year. Because last year
we don't have faith that you can carry the load.
Yeah. Let's go get Jacoby Myers. And Jacoby Myers has outplayed him already. And then, unexpectedly, you're also getting outplayed by fucking Parker Washington. So it's like, at this point, it's like, bro, you probably need to change the scenery. And I'm not surprised because the Jaguars, like, they're one of those teams. And I know this is rich coming from a Bears fan, I know, but at least we've kind of had our shit together for like the last year. But they're kind of like one of the teams, Jags, Browns, where it's just like you kind of expect them to do something stupid. Me, what I would have did personally, I would have just stuck with BTJ for the sake of his confidence and just let him Like, just roll with him in Parker Washington, like season be damned, and just try to rebuild his confidence. So when Travis Hunter comes back, I will have a fully confident BTJ again. But that's not what they did. He's been injury prone. I do not see him in the same light as a Odunze, because at least with Odunze, it's like I could kind of figure out exactly what's going on with him. And I don't think his issues is psychological. I think BTJ is psychological. And if you're getting Justin Jefferson and what will soon to be a productive George Kittle, I'm just going to lead that side.
Yeah, I mean, I just look at the contending aspect of this deal too, and you're trying to win right now. The two players in this deal I feel the most confident in scoring the most points the rest of season would be Jefferson and Kittle. So, those are the two best players in the deal to me. Those are the two players I feel the most confident in scoring points the rest of the way. It makes sense for me to lean that side of the deal. BTJ in a late first for Jefferson. Feel like I just lean Jefferson there still. And then it's like Swift in a late second in 2026 plus Henry for Kittle. You just lean to the upside of Kittle, especially in the 10-man where you want more studs than depth for the most part. So yeah, I'm going to go with the Jefferson and the Kittle side of the deal, and I'm just going to go there. But again, this is an episode to show you guys the price in which Justin Jefferson can be had for if you agree with it. If you don't agree with it, this is the price you can sell him for. These are real trades that are happening right now. We would recommend more towards a buy than a sell right now with Jefferson. Same with Rome. Same with Mahomes. I think we'd recommend more as a hold, I think, on Mahomes. Do you agree Mahomes is a hold rather than a sell or a buy?
He's a hold.
He's a hold right now for me too.
So I think it'd be hard to buy. Don't want to sell them. So
yeah, these are kind of where we're at with these assets, but that's kind of it, man. I do have one more trade here. We will speed through this one because I said I'd like to keep the show an hour, and we're at an hour and 12 minutes. God damn it. So I have one more trade. We'll get through it. This is a bigger deal. But it is a 12-team Superflex PPR 0.75 tight end premium and start 11. Deadly Ambitions said he is trying to land the 101. So what he does is buys an injured Jayden Daniels, an IR Sam Laporta, an injured Tucker Kraft, and an Xavier Worthy, who might as well be injured because he's not scoring. Gives up Brock Purdy, Colston Loveland, Mac Jones, and Tetairoa McMillan. In this type of format, just looking at value, knowing that we're not trying to win right now, which side has more value to you? Where do you lean?
I lean the Jayden Daniels side. His strategy is kind of wild. Because somehow he's bought the better assets in the deal, and he's tanking. Like 0.75 tight end premium. You're getting back Laporta and Kraft, which I like Loveland, but let's just call it what it is. That's more valuable.
How would you rank those three tight ends right now in Dynasty?
How would I rank them?
Yeah, how would you rank them? And then I'll tell you how I would rank them.
Loveland, Laporta, Kraft.
Okay, I think I would go Kraft, Loveland, Laporta.
Yeah, and the only reason I said I like that he's getting Kraft and Laporta over Loveland is just because he's getting two of them. That's pretty much it. Like, if it's like,
I also kind of think all three of these guys are the same tier of tight end. Like, they're all in the same tier.
Yes. Yes. I mean, at this point, you can't say that the Tyler Warren Loveland debate is probably over. And I won't strictly say it's because of a talent standpoint. It's because of their roles in their respective team standpoint. But I think Loveland has absolved himself a little bit recently to where people are like, okay, well, it's not as bad as I thought it was. But yeah, that's how I would rank those guys. Obviously, I think we're both taking Jayden Daniels over Brock Purdy and Mac Jones. I think we're both taking that. And we're both taking Tetairoa McMillan over Xavier Worthy all day, every day, and twice on Sunday. So
easy. Yeah, not even close. It's not even a debate. But I agree with you in the aspect of, like, let's say Laporta and Loveland or Kraft and Loveland are all similar in some way. So you eliminate one of the tight ends. Let's say Kraft and Loveland, same value, cut them out. Now it's Daniels and Laporta and Worthy for T-Mac and Purdy. Because Mac Jones, I think, interesting you get him thrown in because, backup quarterback to Purdy, but also maybe a team takes a shot on him as a starter in the future and you get two guys. I like the sneaky side of that. But today, it's probably it's Purdy and T-Mac for Daniels and Worthy. That's probably fair as is. You might be getting a Laporta thrown in for free, or maybe it's Daniels and Laporta for T-Mac and Purdy, and you're getting a Worthy thrown in for free. Like, I feel like you're sneaking a little bit of value in here, and maybe the extra value that you're getting is just an Xavier Worthy. And I say that, and I wasn't giving him high praise when we first mentioned the video, or I first mentioned the trade. But if you can still add an Xavier Worthy level of player for free or cheap, and you can add it to your roster, I talked about earlier in the episode twice already, stacking value. How can I stack value year in and year out to help me? And it may not be the move today, and it could be the move after down the line. If you're getting Worthy for pennies on the dollar, and then you can take Worthy in a first and upgrade that into another player down the road, you're winning. I like that for you. So I think the value, given the format, given the scoring settings, given the strategy, is on Deadly Ambition side. I like Daniels, Laporta, Kraft, and Worthy. Even though I'm a fan of the players on the other side, I like Purdy, I like T-Mac, I like Loveland. I think the value's on the double tight end side with Laporta and Kraft, and I'm just going to take that side of the deal here and think you won it. And I love the strategy of buying the injuries right now, trying to get the 101, but the injuries are really talented players in this format that should be scorers for you down the road. That is it, man. That is it for the trade show. 10 trades, longer than I wanted to go, but you guys love it. We could go for 2 hours, 3 hours, and you guys would still say, we still want more episodes. We want more trades. And I don't hate you for it. I think it's great. So appreciate you guys for watching. As always, if you did, find something entertaining, actionable, enjoyable, we reviewed your trade, you found something to think about just based off of a conversation we had here today, do me the favor, hit the like button. Also, make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel and go join our free Discord, because the Discord is where you get those trades pulled from. So if you have some trades that you've made recently, I always say recently, usually within the last 2 weeks. If you made trades in the last 2 weeks and you want a chance of getting them reviewed on the next episode, go drop them in the Discord. But that's all I have for you guys today. Ward, do you have anything for the people before we get on out?
Yes, I finally got something for the damn people, okay? We got 2 channels. Uno, dos. We got 2 channels. The Crimson Mass Show channel and Crimson Mass Pro Wrestling. Crimson Mass Show, you're going to get my in-depth thoughts, my in-depth analysis, the videos where I talk a lot. And the other channel is just going to be for shorts. So if you want something quick, you want something fast, you want something in a hurry, go over to Crimson Mass Pro Wrestling. But check us out. Like, subscribe to both, please, por favor, and I will truly thank you.
There you have it, folks. Look, we took a week off. You knew we were going to yap. That's what we did today. So look, an hour 20 in. We'll try and trim it down for you, but we'll see you guys on the next one. Until then, though, peace out.